If you've been following along here on the Soil Science Garden, then you already know what we covered earlier about the secret trick to root cuttings in water fast. Days, not weeks. You've seen how a simple biological approach, using natural hormones, companion cuttings, and a living water system, can completely change your propagation results. But now comes the part where most success stories quietly fall apart. You've got beautiful white roots. Everything looks perfect. You move your cutting into soil, and within days it wilts, stalls, or dies. It feels confusing, even frustrating. After all that progress, what went wrong? Today, we're diving into the next critical phase of the process: how to move water-rooted cuttings into soil without shocking or killing them. This is where propagation turns from luck into skill, and once you understand the biology behind it, you'll stop losing plants at this stage for good. Let's get one thing clear, right away. The problem isn't you, it's the environment shift. Water roots and soil roots are not the same thing. Water roots are soft, thin, and adapted to a world where moisture is constant and oxygen is freely dissolved in water. Soil, on the other hand, is a complex system. It has air pockets, uneven moisture, microbial competition, and physical resistance. When you transplant, the plant experiences a kind of biological shock. Its roots suddenly can't function the same way. Water uptake slows down, oxygen levels change, and the plant goes into survival mode. That's why you see drooping leaves or stalled growth. The plant is essentially saying, "I don't recognize this environment yet." Your job is not to eliminate this transition, but to guide it gently so the plant can adapt instead of collapse. One of the biggest mindset shifts you need to make is this: you are not trying to preserve water roots forever. You are helping the plant transition into producing soil-adapted roots. This is where many gardeners go wrong. They baby the existing roots too much, expecting them to carry the plant indefinitely. In reality, many water roots will die back or transform, and new roots will take over. This is normal. The goal is to reduce stress during this transformation phase, not prevent it entirely. Timing plays a bigger role than most people realize. If you transplant too early, the cutting doesn't have enough root mass to support itself. If you wait too long, the roots become overly specialized for water and struggle more in soil. The ideal moment is when your cutting has several roots that are a few centimeters long, not just one or two strands, but a small network. At this stage, the plant has enough structure to survive the move, but the roots are still flexible enough to adapt. If you followed the biological rooting method we discussed earlier, you'll often reach this stage faster and with stronger roots. This is where many propagation attempts fail. Regular garden soil is too dense, it holds too much water, restricts oxygen, and creates conditions that water roots simply can't handle. Instead, think of your soil as a transition environment, something that bridges the gap between water and full soil conditions. You want a mix that is light, airy, and moisture retentive at the same time. When you pick up the soil, it should feel soft and loose, not heavy or compact. This kind of structure allows roots to breathe while still staying hydrated. It mimics the oxygen-rich environment of water while introducing the complexity of soil. When the medium is right, everything else becomes easier. After transplanting, moisture management becomes your most important task. Water roots are used to constant hydration. If the soil dries out even briefly, they can fail quickly. At the same time, overly wet soil reduces oxygen and encourages rot. You're walking a tightrope. The solution is consistency. The soil should stay evenly moist, like a wrung-out sponge. Not soggy, not dry, just stable. This consistency gives roots the time they need to adapt without stress. And here's something many gardeners overlook: always pre-moisten the soil before planting. Dropping a cutting into dry soil and watering afterward creates uneven moisture pockets that can shock the roots. This is one of the most powerful techniques you can use, and it's often ignored. Right after transplanting, your cutting's roots are not fully functional. That means the plant still relies heavily on moisture from its leaves. If the surrounding air is dry, the plant loses water faster than it can absorb it. That's when you see wilting. To prevent this, you create what I call a humidity bridge. By increasing the humidity around the plant, using a loose cover, a humidity dome, or even strategic placement, you reduce water loss from the leaves. This gives the roots time to catch up. It's a simple shift, but it makes a huge difference. Light. Less is more at first. It's tempting to give your newly transplanted cutting lots of light to encourage growth, but right after the move, that can backfire. Bright light increases photosynthesis, which increases water demand. If the roots aren't ready, the plant can't keep up. Instead, place your cutting in bright, indirect light. Let it stabilize first. Once you see new growth, you can gradually increase light exposure. Think of it as easing the plant into its new environment rather than throwing it in all at once. Oxygen, the invisible factor that decides success. We talked earlier about how oxygen plays a huge role in water propagation. That doesn't change when you move to soil. Roots need oxygen just as much as they need water. This is why your soil structure matters so much. Air pockets in the soil allow roots to breathe and function properly. If the soil is too compact or too wet, oxygen levels drop and roots suffocate. When that happens, it doesn't matter how much you water or care for the plant, it will struggle. Good aeration is not optional, it's essential. Using biology to ease the transition. Well, as we discussed earlier with the biological rooting method, plants really do thrive in living systems. You can actually carry that principle right into the transplant phase. Introducing a mild biological input, like a diluted natural extract, or even just a bit of your original rooting water, can help signal to the plant that it's in a supportive environment. These biological cues can encourage faster adaptation and root development. But balance is key here. You're not trying to overload the system, just gently support it. What to expect in the first 2 weeks. This is the phase where patience really matters most. After transplanting, your plant may show some signs of stress. Leaves might droop slightly, growth may slow down, and, some minor yellowing can occur. This doesn't mean failure. It means the plant is reallocating energy toward root adaptation. What you're looking for is gradual stabilization. Leaves becoming firmer. New growth appearing. The plant holding its posture more confidently. These are signs that the roots are successfully transitioning. The mistakes that undo everything. Even with all the right steps, a few common mistakes can quickly reverse your progress. Transplanting into dense, heavy soil is one of the biggest issues. It suffocates roots before they have a chance to adapt. Overwatering is another. It's easy to think more water equals more support, but without oxygen, roots struggle. Exposing the plant to direct sun too early can also stress it beyond recovery. And constantly checking or disturbing the plant interrupts the adaptation process. Avoid these, and your success rate will improve dramatically. The turning point. When you know you've succeeded. There's a moment in every successful transition where, things just shift. You'll start to notice new leaves forming, and the plant will look a whole lot more stable, more upright. Growth will pick up again, and that's always a good sign. This is the point where, honestly, the soil roots have really taken over. From here on out, you can gradually start treating the plant just like any other established plant. Adjusting watering, maybe increasing the light a bit, and encouraging even more growth. This is where your propagation journey, truly pays off. Connecting it all back to the bigger picture. When you step back and take a look at the full process, from fast water rooting to a successful soil transition, you really start to see the bigger picture. It's not just about the techniques. It's about understanding plant biology and, well, how it all fits together. As we discussed earlier with the secret to accelerating rooting, the key is working with natural processes, not against them. The same principle applies here. You're not forcing the plant to adapt. You're creating conditions that allow it to do so naturally. And once you understand that, propagation becomes far more predictable and, honestly, far less frustrating. Final thoughts. Moving water-rooted cuttings into soil doesn't have to feel like a gamble. When you understand the differences between water and soil environments, and when you take steps to bridge that gap, you give your plants the best possible chance to thrive. This is the stage where many gardeners lose confidence, but it's also where you can gain a real edge. Master this transition and you'll not only grow more plants, you'll grow them better. Call to action. If you found this helpful and want more practical, science-backed techniques like this, make sure to subscribe to The Soil Science Garden. Share this with a fellow gardener who's struggling with transplant shock, and let's keep growing smarter, stronger plants together.